Source referencing, guidelines and examples based on APA referencing. Direct quotations in text from textbooks. Short quote from a book, less than 40 words. Cite the source in parentheses. The period is placed after the citation. Use double quotation marks. In the example below, note the quotation marks at the beginning and at the end of the quote, then the citation, and then the period. Longer quote. If the quote is 40 words or more, include it in your essay as an indented freestanding piece of text or block form, and do not use quotation marks. Double space the entire quote. At the end of the quote, include the author's name, year of publication, and page number or page numbers after the period. Note the colon at the end of the previous sentence to show that the quote follows below. So in the example below, note the left-hand margin has the previous text or sentence and then a colon, and then you indent the quote. Note also the period in such a quote after the sentence, not citation in this case. Direct quotations in text, online sources. When using direct quotes from online material, provide the author, year, and page number within parentheses. If the page number is not known, use a paragraph number, if possible. Notice the example below with the quotation marks and the citation at the end. Or you can refer to the source as part of your sentence. So in the example below, notice how Ness, George Turner, and Bollgates with the year after are part of that sentence. And then you have the short quote after that. And then the citation at the end with the page numbers at the end. Abbreviate part of a quote. Use 3 dots, also called ellipses, to refer to what you have omitted. If your ellipse runs past the end punctuation of your first sentence, add another dot. If you add something to a quote for clarification, add brackets. Notice the brackets around the word these. Direct quotations from poems in text. Short quotes from a poem, no more than 3 lines. Do not indent, but leave the quotation in the body of text. Line breaks are marked with a slash. So notice the example below. The author uses powerful images in the opening lines, and there the writer of the sentence wrote colon, and then turning in widening gyre. Notice the slash. The falcon cannot hear the falconer. And then that punctuation is in the poem, and then notice the slash again, and things fall apart. And that semicolon is also in the poem, and then end quote, and Yeats, 1920, and period at the end. Long quote, more than 3 lines. Indent the quote, maintaining the original punctuation. No quotation marks are required. Note the colon at the end of the previous sentence. So here, the poem describes places familiar to the Irish reader. That would be the sentence before with the colon, and then note how it is cited below, or quoted below. Paraphrasing in text. Continuous text. Language flow in a text can often be improved by paraphrasing, which means using your own language to refer to the source material. Paraphrasing is when you take another author's ideas and put them into your own words, but you're still copying someone else's work, so you must reference it. Make sure you make it clear where your paraphrasing starts. For example, you could refer to the author somehow. You do not have to add a page number when paraphrasing. Citing sources in text continued. If your next source is the same as the previous one, add parentheses and ibid with a period inside. If there is a mistake in a quoted source, write brackets and sic inside behind the mistake. This shows that the mistake was not made by you. In-text citation, capitalization, multiple authors, and films. Capitalization. Always capitalize proper nouns. Capitalize all words in a title except for prepositions and articles, unless such words follow a dash or a colon in a title. Referencing multiple authors. When there are 6 or more authors in a source, write their last names the first time you mention the source. So Sharp, Aaron, Wittenberg, and Gittins, 2007. In subsequent in-text citations, write the first last name and et al. Plus the year. Sharp et al. And then 2007. Referencing films. On the first occasion when you mention a film, you should include the director and date. Example, The Quiet Man. Notice how the film is a large work, so it's put in italics. Starred John Wayne as Sean Thornton, and then the citation, John Ford, 1952. In-text citation continued. Titles of large works. Large works such as newspapers, movies, documentaries, series, books are all italicized. Remember, in-text citation where appropriate. So, Gender and Society, which is a journal, it's a large work, so you italicize it. Divergent is a novel, so you italicize it. Titles of short works, however. Smaller works such as newspaper articles, poems, lyrics, short stories, and web pages are set in quotation marks. So, for example, Successful Teaching Placements in Secondary Schools is put in quotation marks because this is a journal article. And finally, you've learned a bit about how to cite sources in text. This is how you can cite your end list. I've also provided in the sources at the end of this PDF, I've also provided sources that you can use if you need more information about APA citing. Okay? Add your sources to the end of your document. If your text is long and has many sources, add them to a new page at the end of the document. So all you would need to do was insert page shift. An example from a book you see here, you can just copy that example into your own text and then make the changes you need to make. And you have the online newspaper article. Then you have an internet source, or 3, an example from an organization, an example from an online dictionary, and an example from Wikipedia. And finally, you have an example from a movie or a film and YouTube. And as I said, here are sources that you could use for additional help. I hope this tutorial has helped you. If you have any questions whatsoever, let me know.